Grace. How are you today?
Doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing all right. So, last time that we met, we were discussing a little bit more about the situation between you and your mom. And you were saying that you're pretty frustrated when confrontation or conflict happens between the two of you. That you all had kind of set up a family system that when something happens and one of the members of the family is upset, you go straight to that person, but that when you'd been doing that with your mom and hadn't necessarily been working, that you felt like things were pretty one-sided. She wasn't really hearing your side of the story when you guys were having misunderstandings. Do you want to tell me a little bit more about that? Has anything else happened?
Not necessarily like directly related to her, but there's been kind of some conflict between my brother and I, and she's kind of stepped in to kind of be the mediator between that, and essentially she's just like pointing out my faults in the situation and doesn't really like, even though I try to explain my side, she's still not like hearing me. She's basically like, okay, stop talking, like I know what's right and you're wrong, and so you need to fix it. And so it's kind of,
So you kind of felt like she was attacking you rather than kind of mediating the conflict between you and your brother.
yeah, it's definitely like she tends to take, at least I feel like she tends to take a side with him more, and she tells me like, oh, I don't take sides, but you can sort of kind of tell that she takes his side, and she'll come to me a lot and be like, you're the one messing up, you're the oldest, you need to fix yourself. And so that's kind of hard sometimes. It's like she still like she doesn't try to resolve conflict by being like a middle ground kind of person, even between like the two of us. Like she only sees her side and can't even attempt to see my side. And so it's just kind of a hard problem in any situation that I have with her, in any sort of conflict. It's just she doesn't really tend to see another side of the picture. She only sees the side she wants to believe.
So you feel kind of conflicted on how to handle the situation or how to address things when there's a conflict with your mom.
Yeah, usually I just shut down, and I'm just kind of like, okay, yep, okay, whatever, and just to appease her, to get her to stop pointing fingers at me, and usually just she'll go, okay, did that make sense? Did you get it? And I'm like, yep, sounds great, and then I can move on and be like, essentially do whatever I want, and she can just feel that she's appeased the situation and that she's all good about it and everything's perfect for her, and I'm just like, yep, nope, gonna continue doing it this way.
So how do you feel in those situations when you just say, yep, everything's fine, and you think she kind of gets her way? How do you feel in those moments?
Oh, I'm angry. I'm upset. I don't feel like my feelings were validated in any sort of way, or that I was understood or heard at all. It's just like, it's just really upsetting that, she's not even listening to what I have to say. And even if she does sort of kind of listen, she doesn't really want to hear what I have to say. Because in the end, it doesn't matter. It's her way or the highway, and that's it. And it's like, it doesn't matter.
So you feel hurt because you think that she doesn't want to listen to what you have to say.
Mm-hmm. Which is why we sort of set up in place the idea of like addressing issues right away and like dealing with them and talking about our feelings and like having her listen to what I have to say, because a lot of it, kind of all my life, I felt like she tells me what to do and won't listen when something really upsets me or something really affects me, and so she's not hearing me. And that's kind of sort of where that whole decision came from, was that I don't feel like I'm being validated or being listened to, and that's kind of why we set that up in motion. Now I don't know if it's truly perfect the way it's set up. In theory it should, but I don't know if it's quite going that way.
So have you had, last time we met, you talked a little bit about setting up that family arrangement. Have you had an opportunity to utilize that at all when you felt like you weren't being heard or understood?
Can you explain a little bit more?
Sure. So you told me about the family agreement where when someone was feeling like the other person wasn't understanding them or they were hurt, that you could go right to that person and explain how you were feeling and kind of what your side of the story was. Have you been able to do that with your mom at all? Have you gone to her?
Yes, not probably within the last week or so,
Okay.
but before that, I did a couple of times, and sort of right after that was kind of established. It worked out well for a couple of weeks, and then there wasn't really any issues and everything was fine. But then like recently, it just kind of hasn't gone that way. Maybe because I'm not like remembering to do that, or I'm just really heated in the moment and things just kind of come out the way they do, or it just hasn't like warranted itself to go that way.
So I hear kind of two things. I hear you saying that you want to be heard and you want to be understood and have your feelings validated when you're upset by something that your mom does, and that you've put this system into place. And then on the other hand, you're not always using it, or you feel like it hasn't been necessarily the most helpful or the most appropriate system as time has kind of gone on.
Right, yeah, I don't know, like, long-term how it's gonna work. I think a lot of times in situations, like I've said, like, if there's a conflict or an issue or something like that, and I try to address it, sometimes it only makes it worse because she doesn't want to hear any other side, or that she's potentially, like, the cause of a problem in a situation. She only wants to know that her way is right and that it's totally fine however she's come to whatever conclusion she has.
So, I hear kind of your concerns and that the system might not necessarily be the most effective, but that you do want to find a way to kind of resolve these conflicts with your mom and to have your voice heard. So what do you think we could do about that? Is there a way that you think we could achieve that goal?
Yeah, I mean, clearly, like, this method isn't working, but what I've already kind of been doing myself, unless I kind of implement it with a little bit more fidelity, maybe, so that it was utilized in every situation, and I really remembered, like, to incorporate that aspect. I don't
So
know.
do you have any ideas of any ways that you could do that? How could you make sure that you were being held more accountable to utilize this system in the event that a disagreement happened with your mom?
I mean, I could write myself a note, like have a sort of like a sticky note that kind of reminds me to like utilize that strategy when things are going kind of awry.
Do you have, I think that's a great idea, do you have anything like a planner or a day book that you look at on a daily basis that might be kind of a constant reminder
Yeah.
that you could do that?
Yeah, I could write, that little note to myself in there, just to kind of remind me to incorporate that strategy more, and to kind of, come back and talk to her about situations. Maybe not right there in that moment, maybe like let people cool off kind of thing, but come back and talk to her and be like, hey, like it upset me when you were saying this, or I didn't feel like you were listening to what I had to say, and, kind of maybe incorporate it that way, and so that it's maybe not right there in the moment when things are upsetting, but that she can still understand, how I feel about a situation.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I found in the past, with other situations, that writing myself a note in my planner is something that I look at on a daily basis, or even more frequently than that, kind of gives me that little reminder and that little kind of encouragement to stick to whatever that goal is that I've set or thing that I want to accomplish. I'm going to push you kind of one step further. Do you think that, so you have this reminder, you have a disagreement that happens with your mom or with someone else in the household, maybe you step away and you go do your homework and you see the note and your planner reminding you to do it. How long do you think is a good time to go back and address the situation? Do you think there's a way to kind of hold yourself accountable in that regard? Like after X amount of time, I'll go back and have the discussion to kind of clear the air and sort things out.
Probably like 15 or 30 minutes. That way it's not like like a day or so where people are like, what are you talking about?
Right.
But that it's easily remembered in that situation, and then we can talk about it shortly after.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And what could you do? You know, maybe you could use a timer on your phone, or you could even tell the person, you know, I'm gonna set this timer and we're gonna cool off and we'll come back, or it could be something that you do in private. Would you feel comfortable with any of those options?
Yeah, I mean, probably not like directly to whomever,
Mhm.
but you know, just kind of on my own, like setting a time limit for that. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, because it might be something that needs to change a little bit based on how intense the disagreement was, how intensely you're feeling, or the other person. It might need to change a little bit.
Right. And you know, I know like for myself sometimes I can kind of see the whole picture once I've been able to cool down a little bit. I'm not so angry.
Yeah, you can clear your mind and kind of think a little bit more clearly about it. So kind of in closing, you know, over the last few sessions we talked about some disagreements that you've had with your boyfriend and now with your mom. And I think this goal that you've established of writing a note in your planner to remind you to go back and follow up with the person after you've had some time to kind of cool off and gather your thoughts. And, you know, that could be with your mom or anyone else in your family, with your boyfriend, really with anyone. And I think setting that timer, you know, in 15 minutes, I'll go back and have this discussion, or in 30 or 45, and really just hold yourself, you know, to that time limit, extending it if you need to based on how you feel.
Right.
Is that something you think you'd be able to accomplish?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I'd like to try that.
Okay, good. So we're going to meet again in 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks when we come back together, we'll discuss how you have felt about the goal, how it's been working, if there's anything maybe we need to tweak, and kind of go from there. How does that sound?
Okay, that sounds good.
All right, it's been nice talking to you today, Grace.
Same to you. Thanks.